Hi guys, how you doing today? So you're totally gonna answer that question. Here's the Jeep. I have a little bit of history with this Jeep. I actually technically bought this Jeep about 6 years ago, and then the deal fell through, and I went and bought it again this last weekend. A little bit about it. It's a 90 Wrangler, or I'm sorry, Cherokee, obviously, with a very seized up Lennox 4-liter or Renix 4-liter in it. We're gonna do a video on trying to unlock it, but that's not this video. So, I mean, the body's pretty straight. It did spend like 6 years with a pair of engines in the back of it, so we're gonna have a little bit of carpet cleaning going on in there. Maybe some carpet painting. We'll see how that works out. Came with all of this. Yeah, those are LS parts over there. We're not LSing it yet. This LS is actually a friend of mine's, or was a friend of mine's, that he gave up on like 6 or 7 years ago, that somehow ended up in this Jeep. Fun times. So what we're doing today is replacing a lock cylinder, or an ignition lock cylinder. That'll be this gentleman here, because someone broke the key out because they couldn't find the key. These things happen when, you know, vehicles sit for tons of time. Ow! Yeah, so don't run into those. It's not fun. Okay, now we can see my hands. Yeah, so we're replacing this old lock cylinder here, and we're going to end up replacing the hatch lock cylinder, because I may have broken it out because it was locked and I didn't have keys, and well, I had to get a 4-liter and an LS out of the back. But yeah, so we're going to replace the lock cylinder today. If you have the proper tools, it's not usually too bad. Let's slide in here. Okay, so first thing we do is get as much fat clearance as possible. Excuse my amateurness. I just want to check my up here to make sure everything's in focus or in view. Okay, so obviously we need tools. There are 2 specialty tools depending on your auto parts store. Sometimes they come in a single kit like this one, and that is a lock plate tool and a steering wheel puller. This actually has both, and you'll see which does what as we go on here, and I'll make sure to point those out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is a couple of, I'm assuming, Phillips head screws. I'm hoping. Yeah, there's no screw in that. A couple of these. Well, I have a feeling we're about to break this. Okay, I'll pull that up. We're going to use the old school ass screwdriver here. Maybe. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they're Phillips head. Okay. So, pull that screw, which I believe will retain in the steering wheel. Don't quote me on that. This one is, but you know, it could just be because the steering wheel is so gooey and disgusting, because it very much is that. So yeah, here's a little Jeep inside. It's actually not as bad as I thought. It definitely needs some, been sitting for 6 years of cleaning. Not sure why I'm using a manual screwdriver. Okay, yeah, so that screw didn't stick. This screw is not the original screw. It's the original screw now. All right, so you got your horn button connectors, which I guess for informational purposes I will disconnect these properly. Okay, so anytime you have these connectors that connect to spade connectors, they're supposed to have a little tab that locks into the hole. That's what the hole's there. Rarely do they, like on aftermarket connectors. So we all tend to, you know, just do a little yanking here, but just stuff something up behind it to compress it, and then just break it. I mean, pull it off. I actually am probably going to end up breaking this one or bending it. Okay, so put that in your parts area. Now we have the nut, which looks a little bit like 13/16 because it's 13/16. You can take this off with a ratchet if you're one of those people that uses ratchets. Generally not that hard to get off, but mind you, you know what, we're just going to leave that nut in there. Mind you, I did say generally. Now, one thing I suggest highly when doing anything like this, it's a magnetic parts tray. Well, it doesn't really have to be magnetic, but a parts tray, a cup, the bottom half of a jug, something to put all of these little miscellaneous parts in. You'll thank me in the long run. Okay, so now we get to the puller. So this is going to be your puller. Find the correct. That's just a washer. All right, this is kind of a cheesy puller kit. I'm a bit confused. Oh, there it is. What to say? So you got, it's basically like the reverse. Well, I'm sorry, I'll get to that in a minute because that's the other one I'm thinking of. Yeah, they put no cone in here. All right, so basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna find your bolts. There are 2 holes in the steering wheel here, and honestly, 9 times out of 10, exactly what's happening right now happens to me. And that is, either somebody has messed up the bolt that I need, or the correct bolt isn't, you know, in the kit. I don't know why. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, the right bolt is in here. This is, it's amazing. So what I do is I go ahead and run the first one in, and I mean, you need, you know, like maybe a 1/2 inch of thread engagement. It's usually not that serious. I mean, if you want to do more by all means. So I'll run these in to level, generally is what you want to do. I brought my bootleg tool out here because I didn't know what size these bolts were, and if y'all can hear that rain, I, you know, apologize, but I can't control it. So, and yeah, what I'll do is basically get these level, because you don't want to be pulling it crooked, because then things bind up and it's all bad times at that point. All right, that's close enough. Another thing that I like to do, generally a marker is, you know, better for this, but we're going to use what we got here. I don't really know how effective this is going to be. like a marker or paint pen, mark your wheel and mark your shaft. That way you know you're putting it back on right. But I mean, we're pretty much straight up, so we should be okay. And if not, I'll pull it back off. All right, so now tighten this down, and there's a divot in the center of the steering wheel, like a dome, or well, I guess the opposite of a dome that sits in. And I mean, most of the time that's literally all it takes. Steering wheel's off. So now I'm going to pull my puller back apart. I'm taking this bolt out because it went in by hand, and that will allow me to slide that off. And obviously the nut is going to put it back on. So I also like to throw a little anti-seize on there because, well, why not? Alright, so put all your little pieces back in here because you don't want to buy that. And I'm going to go ahead for the moment and just close. Well, I don't suppose closing that up really is all that beneficial when I still need to put stuff in it. And once again, you know, if you want to get the proper tools, like sockets for those bolts and all of that, that's great. But in my experience with pullers, I tend to just, you see what they did to this ignition. This is basically a GM column. Actually, it is a GM column. You know, Jeep does stand for just everyone else's parts. So now what we're going to do is remove the lock plate. The lock plate puller is this gentleman here. It'll go here, and this is basically like a reverse puller. All right, you're going to have one of these studs screws over that. I just so happen to grab the right one. That boy goes there. Put your handy dandy washer on there. I don't know why I said that. And then the supplied nut for compression. And this, once again, is why I just bring a, yeah, make sure not to pinch your wire. That's why I just bring an adjustable wrench, because all of the hardware on these pullers are different sizes, and it's just easier. Okay, so what you're trying to do now is a little lock ring here, C-clip, whatever you want to call it. You want to use a pick or a small screwdriver or stripper magic, whatever you use. Basically just to, I didn't get the worst pick that I own. And the bad part is when I got it, I said, this is the worst pick that I own. I should go find a real pick, but no. Why do that? So this little lock ring here, it's not really all that stiff. It just rotates on you if you don't hold it, and makes you look like you don't have any idea what you're doing, which unfortunately I'm a old body style Chevy truck guy. Oh, I hate that click. It was all out, and I went to reposition and it said, oh, I'm back in. But yeah, so I'm an old body style Chevy truck guy, and they have tons and tons of column problems. So unfortunately, I actually am not an amateur at this. And sadly, this is pretty much the same column. So apparently I'm just like a old body style Chevy truck column guy. I do like Cherokees. I like a little bit of everything, honestly. I get tired of the same thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, LS swapped the world. But yeah, it gets a little boring from time to time doing the same thing. So we're gonna bend this pick out a little bit. That's how you know it's a high quality pick, you know. when you can bend it so easily. And yeah, also sorry about the fan noise, but it is just like 1000% humidity today, and it's Georgia, so you know it's hot. And this is kind of an ultra annoying thing to do, and it's not really much better when you're, you know, sweating to death and narrating it. Okay, so I just repositioned that. Hand's actually starting to hurt. Repositioned that so I could kind of get on it better. I really just need to go get an actual pick, and sadly an actual pick is a Harbor Freight pick. Like, Harbor Freight picks are like the best at this. Alright, I think we in there now. So I can just get that lodged under there. And basically just, you know, like any C-clip that they weren't kind enough to put eyelets on so that you could use snap ring pliers. Just, who's got snap ring pliers anyway? Just work your way around. And once you get it out of the groove, like that, you can just slide him on up. Okay. I don't know what that was, but it's the world's creepiest garage, so. Then you just loosen this boy back up. And obviously it's gonna come out further than it did before. And you will obviously need this to, it's raining a bit. You'll need this to put it back together, but I'm still gonna set all that over there and take this out of my way, mostly so I can get the C-clip off, or snap ring, or whatever you would call it. And you just pull your lock plate off, and that is your horn contact thing, official name. And I'm gonna close this up just to not lose bolts, because this thing's not a very good workbench, which is a shame because it's a Jeep. It should be. Okay, so you're gonna have, let me get you some light in here. You're gonna have screw, screw, and screw. You also gotta pull this screw. You also gotta pull that screw. And there's going to be some wires that come off of this blinker cam. So you're basically just trying to get this to the side. So we're gonna start with our hazard button. And then we'll take blinker cam or multifunction switch screw out. Loosen up those screws. I believe we have to take those out because I believe there are more. No, don't listen to me. I swear there were more screws. And this is fun to get back in. It's not actually that bad, but it's also not that good. Okay, so we got this. Now we're just gonna finagle here. All right, so that little black screw there, that is the screw, little Torx bit that we need to pull out for the purpose of pulling the ignition switch. One thing we really don't want to do, which I feel like I'm in great danger of doing, you really don't want to drop that boy into the column to take the spring out, see if I can't get just a hair more space. Now, this would be a great time for some like needle nose pliers or magnetic pickup tool or some scents. I have most of those things. I'll let you guess. I gotta put this light down. I'll let you guess which one I don't have. Now, as you see, you don't want to lose that, because it's a rather particular device. Okay, so that should, of course it's not going to, but that should pull out now. I'm not entirely sure why it isn't pulling out. Maybe due to the fuckery that went on with this column. Yeah, I'm not really sure why that isn't coming out. Maybe due to the fine job somebody did destroying this ignition switch. I know on trucks the key has to be forward. I don't know. I'm gonna figure this out and then I'll get back with you. I don't want you to have to sit here. Okay, so I got them out. What I actually did was kind of smacked it in a little bit and, you know, turned it forward and then pulled it back out. That is due to this. Like if you're just changing one to change one, it's not as bad. However, you do have to have the key, which is kind of a thing, or you have to have the key or have to turn it, which is kind of a thing, because generally if you're doing this you don't have the key. But yeah, so this gentleman here, with the key forward, that goes up. With it down, it kind of locks in place. Now it is plastic, so you could probably put a slide hammer in there and yank it out, but so in here you just have that. I really need to clean that out. They really exploded this thing. Did a wonderful job. Sadly, these people are also mechanics. So anyway, you have, you know, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm gonna go with not. Okay, yeah, we almost had it. Yeah, you see the little flat thing protruding there. Oh yeah, what I'm gonna puke now. Goes in there. Pretty self-explanatory. This goes down, so you'll just slide this boy, hopefully, if it's not too destroyed. Doesn't really make a ton of sense there. This would be a lot easier had they not done what they did to it. Of course, I guess it'd also be a lot more unnecessary. Okay, so there's a groove here that doesn't go straight down. It goes in this groove. I understand. Doesn't look like it's lining up. Maybe it turned some when I pulled it out. It doesn't feel like it's hitting the ignition switch, which is kind of fucking weird. This thing is kind of a heat. It's one of those you probably shouldn't have bought it things. But for the price I paid, whatever. So I have no way to see. Yeah, guess I do. There we go. Alright, that's in. Ish. Not entirely. This isn't doing the things it's supposed to be doing. Like there's something going on in this column. Once I figure this out, I'll get back to you. And just like that, everything has been blown apart. Okay, so basically this, find my pliers, this little guy right here was twisted into the wrong position because it does a thing. Basically this pushed in too far and it wasn't getting good tooth engagement, and it was causing it to just basically pop off. So we're gonna do some creative repair, since I have no idea where to get one of these and don't really feel like doing a whole column. So this just pulls out. We're gonna try to it's gonna require bigger ones. I'm gonna try to stuff a couple of washers back there and then use some CA glue to keep it out. Let's see. Those may be a bit big, like they're good on the center, but see if we got something else just as a backup. And yeah, we don't. Okay, well I may end up doing some grinding on these washers. But yeah, basically every time you turned it forward it would over rotate, and then that got the positioning off. Yeah, those are way too big. That got the positioning off. Good in the center. We'll just sneak that back there. Nope. So yeah, I got the positioning off, and then things happen. Okay, so I'm gonna go do a thing and basically grind the outside of these down. Alright, so basically I centered these up the best I could on a bolt and a nut, and then chucked that up. I'll get back to it. So when you do this, make sure that you mess your threads up on the bolt with the drill, because that'll just make it a great and miraculous time trying to get them back apart, because this simple ignition switch install hadn't already got ridiculously out of hand already. Oh yeah, swivels, always when you don't need them. Every time. Okay, so put these wrenches up. Let's have a thing about that. So, when you're done, or when I assume you're done, that's how much we've taken off of the washer here. I don't really know how visible that is. Let's go see if we can jam this behind the thing and do a thing with some stuff. And honestly, it would probably be fine if I just pulled it out a little and CA glued it, but I really don't want to be back in this column. That boy fits. Okay. I think we're gonna be able to get the second one in there, but I just went ahead and made two, because if I hadn't went ahead and made two, I would need two, and you know how that goes. Okay, so all we got to do is fight this back in here. Remember that time that I had a pick? I really hate non-Harbor Freight picks because they're like not bright. Alright, let's see if this will help us out a little bit here. What you have to do is get this spring that actually pushes the lock pin into the lock plate. Whoever came up with the design of the spring was on some sort of drug. Man, a pick would be really great for this job. Oh yes, grab the largest, most blunt device sitting here. Definitely. Okay, now we can just get this thing to do the exact opposite of what it wants to. Oh, come on. Okay, so that's an-ish. Now we'll readjust that way too much. Grab this, spin it around there a couple 150 times or so. We can find the spot. Alright. Oh, it also is a good idea, at least I think it's a good idea. To be honest, I've never dealt with this exact problem, but I feel like it would be a good idea to, you know, actually get it interfaced with the thing that it's supposed to move. Just general rule, which now wants to be hateful. Well, let's be honest, it wanted to be hateful the whole time, but that's why we're here. Of course, I don't know how much I can blame this for the stupidity of the people that broke it. But I digress. Okay, yeah. I think we're in business here. And it did it to me again. Well, shocked, truly. I don't really know how it's doing it now, because this can't come in. And by process of there being only a finite amount of space, that really shouldn't be able to go out. It's like this thing is getting fucking... It's like this thing is getting floppier by the second. Ow. I have a bad shoulder. That very much hurt that shoulder. This is making me a little angry at this point. All because someone wouldn't go find their keys. Oh, next time you think to yourself, I'll just break the lock cylinder out, just don't. Please don't. Because someone that actually fixes things is gonna have to come along and clean up after you. And you know, they really don't deserve it. Just quit being lazy. Quit being impatient. Just go in and find your keys. This is ridiculous. I'm really just not a fan of people. And the bad part is it's always, every time, an alleged mechanic. Just because you bought tools and you can pull bolts out doesn't make you a mechanic. Okay, so that's back doing its thing. No way I'm getting that second washer back there. As long as it stays out here, it's fine. Alright, so now we're going to the second device here. This is CA glue with activator. I am going to glue this top on where I can't get it off. And this is why you don't lay this on its side. Which I never do, but for some reason it's good glue, as you may have noticed. Alright. I guess we're playing big boy games now. That ain't gonna work. I will glue everything to everything if we do that. I think we can make this work. Of course, this will be the last hurrah. Yeah. for this glue. Okay, so basically this is super glue. And this makes it instantly dry on exactly what you didn't want it to. Okay, so we managed to escape that, which could have been terrible. Okay, so we're gonna pour some on the top and catch it on the way down. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't seem to do the accessory anymore. I can live with that. See if we can sneak some in here. Mother. So this column's trash. That's all I got. Okay, so after much searching all over Earth, I've found the ignition switch kit, and it comes with the gear that we have broken teeth on, and the plunger rod, and the retainer spring, and the bolt. And of course we're going to do the right thing and just replace the gear, because yeah, yay side cramp. The gear that it seems I may have accidentally glued to the shaft here. I'll tell you what, this is about the most non-cooperative thing I've done today. Alright, good times. One thing I did get this time though is, you know, the pick. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this washer in here, because we went through all the trouble of making it, and I'm sure I'll probably end up regretting that decision, but gotta have something to regret. Okay, so if we can get all of this to line up, get that poked back in there. Come on. I don't know what's going on here. It's almost like it doesn't fit, which would be right at about par for the course with this little project here. This thing's kind of reminiscent of the S10 and all of its hate. Okay, now put a little rod in here. Well, would you look at that? I don't really feel like this is doing what it's supposed to. But, you know, that's Okay. Sweet. Now, just to double check, this would be in the off position. I believe the long one goes down. Yeah. Okay. No, it's still a little sticky. But seems to be working. It's probably sticky because of that washer, honestly, but that's fine. I would rather it be in line and be a little sticky. All right, so see if we can remember how to finagle this back on. Okay, that looks kind of similar to what it should do. See if the old screw wants to play it right. Tell you what, this has been a process, and sometimes it'd be like that. A lot of times it'd be like that. I feel like that's where that went. Wish I had a piece to replace that, but it's a fight for another day, I suppose. See that toe? Ow! That spring ain't no joke, especially with the steering wheel off. Get this boy in here. Now, make sure all these are snug, and we can fight with a little rod. Or I suppose, since it's wide open, we could go ahead and put Mr. Ignition switch in, which I believe is easier to do in that position. Basically the on, like the run position, because of that aforementioned little tab. I really don't feel like that's seated in there. It is though. I suppose the screw really tells that tale, doesn't it? And I'm not really a fan of the tail that it's. I'm pretty sure it went in further than that before. Maybe it's too far. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I really should have replaced that bezel. Don't have one though, and I really didn't anticipate all of this redonkulousness. Alright. So now we're gonna find this. Well, we can see in here I believe this just rides in there. Alright. I know this one time we had a drill, or an impact rather. Yeah, that didn't go in straight. Sadly, we have all this other hardware in here now because of how sideways everything went, and I shouldn't have done that, but it did. And we'll figure it out. Maybe. I hope. That looks like one of those screws. Go ahead and loosen that back up, because it's not doing what it should. Okay, tilt this thing up where I can actually see. Yeah, it's sitting in there better. I'll do a look for some screws. Because that was one of those weird cutty screws. Like this. And like that. Okay. So definitely make sure to drop the screw. It's always a great plan. And yeah, just when you have delicate plastic pieces in your column, make sure to put them in with an impact. You really shouldn't. I do it because I'm a trained idiot. Alright, so test here. Alright. So that works. That looks like a screw for him. Okay. Well, that actually, once we got all the hubbub done, I believe there's a spring. Otherwise, we would not need to compress this. Okay. So that definitely needs to be exposed. I don't. I don't know, because that doesn't move. This will. So I didn't remember. I really feel like that's for alright, so now we get our toolage back out here. It'll be that boy and this one and the nut and the washer. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of slide that ring in there. And this is pretty much just the reverse. I'm gonna go ahead and say this even though I shouldn't. This should be less of a pain than getting it off was. Should be. Doesn't mean it will be. Okay, so that's smashed down. Yeah, that little copper thing, I don't know about that. And then just slide this down with your pick until it clicks. And then boop. It's funny because like I need to take this back to the O'Reilly's. I also need to pick up some spark plugs, but that's for a different video. In the process of trying to get this thing broke loose, so it has been seized for roughly 6 years. Oh yeah, that was definitely supposed to go on first. Awesome. So you get to see it again. How about that? That would be nice and edit that out, but I probably won't, because I like to keep things real. Because we all mess up. Just look at it as experience. You don't have to compress that thing real hard either. Like, I mean, I think that was maybe a half a turn once it was tight. Y'all remember how fun this was, right? I'll just look at it this way. We have more experience with this than we had the last time. And look at that, making me not look like I'm a retard. Which I suppose the whole conundrum did a pretty good job of that, but okay. I'm not entirely, there it goes. Alright. Now, put that in there, and then that pushes down on there, which is what keeps it from going in. Honestly, if this was just to make the horn work, if that thing wouldn't catch, I might not have taken it back off. Just being honest here. I doubt the horn works on this thing. And at this point, it's a little too ratty of a vehicle to care. Okay. Well, at least this is the easy part. Okay. When you get done with your specialty tool that you've rented, definitely put the parts directly back up, because nobody wants to buy something that they didn't want to buy because they rented it, which is a pretty good indication they didn't want to buy it. Which, once again, I actually have one of these. It's at work for some reason. All right, so we got all that done. I'm gonna pause here for a second. I mean, I'm not gonna pause the video, but I'm gonna pause what I'm doing here for a second. And go ahead and put these. I know you came off there. Doesn't even make any sense. Like I know for a fact that this goes on here because I took it off of here. This is the column bolts that I removed when trying to figure out exactly what this craziness was. And it has a brace. This one side actually has two braces that go to the side of the Jeep. And for some reason, it's hitting stuff. Like all I did was take it off the column, but it's like hitting the dash. Well, of course it pinched wire. I don't know if anyone ever told y'all this, but Jeep makes the highest quality vehicles. Yes, I'm being facetious. Jeep is just everyone else's parts. Now I have to blindly get on that, and now I can tighten these up. Love how the whole dash flexes when you tighten the column up. Alright, so the only thing left to do now is we're basically just doing the inverse of what we did before. Yeah, so my steering wheel's gonna be crooked now. I gotta modify something real quick. No, my steering wheel's gonna be straight. Okay. Now we take our should probably put this back on. It's the four-way flasher button. The Jeep, that's a serious button. Alright, now we take our steering wheel nut. And put our steering wheel back on. And that's pretty much the business there. Oh, it locks now too. How about that? Are you serious? So, funny enough, the ignition won't turn. Awesome. Well, anyway, oh, there it goes. Wow, somebody pulled the panhard bar off of this. Anyway, so that'll do it for that. Appreciate you watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.